Hi, this is the second part of overheads costing chapter. In first video, I have covered how to prepare overheads analysis sheet, how to find the basis for the overheads, and what kind of overheads should be shown in the overheads analysis sheet. It means you should not show the non-production overheads and the secondary distribution as well. So from that, we found the overheads for the production department, and then we did the secondary distribution. From that, we found the total fixed production overheads for each production department, right? So in this video, I'm gonna cover how to find OAR, which I'm gonna introduce now, and how to find the absorbed overheads, then how to find the total cost for a product. Fine. So let's say in this example, we had total cost at the primary distribution. We had the cost 550, 400 and 100. So this overheads analysis sheet prepared in thousands, right? So 100 I divided into like 50-50, right? So 1:1 is the basis. This is just an example, right? So after I got the total 600 and 450, it means 600,000 and 450,000. First point, the first important point that you should know is, what does this mean? What does 600 mean? 600 is the total fixed production overhead, budgeted total fixed production overheads for cutting department. 450 mean, again, budgeted total fixed production overhead for the finishing department after the secondary distribution, right? So what is our objective? Our objective is to find the cost per unit. So if it is direct, generally if it is variable cost, we can directly find the cost for a unit. But when it comes to the production, when it comes to a fixed cost, especially for the production fixed cost, we couldn't be able to do that. Why? Because this one is based for a month or for a year. It is not based for a unit. Therefore, we have introduced this what you call overheads analysis sheet, and we found the cost for the each department, right? So 600,000 and 450,000 are the cost for what you call cutting department, finishing department. So this is the additional information given, right, for an example. So business produces two products, toy car and toy van, and they produce 1000 units of car and 500 units of van. So now tell me, with this information, how to find the cost per unit, right? So let's say first department 600. So when you are doing any calculation after this, you have to put the exact value. Therefore it should be 600,000, right? And second department we had 450,000. So these are what? These only fixed production overhead, not the other direct cost. So we have to find this one for a unit, and then we can add other cost, other direct cost for a unit, then we can get the total cost. Fine. So how to find? So 600,000, I have produced two products, right? My first question is, the 600,000 is for which product? Is it for the toy car, or is it for the toy van, or is it for both? The 600,000 for both. Why? Because the toy car and toy van should be gone through both departments, obviously, because a product should be produced through these departments, right? So 600,000 is for two products in this question. So that is the first important point. You should know, what does 600,000 mean? 600,000 is the total budgeted fixed production overhead. It means total, not for a product, not for a unit. This is 600. This 600,000 is the total. It is not for an individual product. It is not for a car, right? And it is not for a unit also. It is not for one unit. So those 2 points are very important. Therefore, the 600,000 is total. So if I want to find cost per unit, I can't divide 600,000 by 1000. I can't do that. Why? Because 600,000 is the total cost for 1000 plus 500 units. Fine? Right. So this 600,000, if I divide this 600,000 by 1500, then I can find the cost per unit. Is that okay? If I divide 600,000 by 1500 units, mean 1000, what is it? 1000 is what? Toy cars, and 500 is toy vans. So if I divide by 1500, because I have to divide by 1500, I can't go with 1000 and 500 separately, because 600,000 is the total cost. So it includes the cost for the van production and the car production as well. And it is not for a one car or one van. It is the total. It is the total cost for 1500 units. So if I divide by 1500, I can get a unit cost. It means unit fixed production overhead. Right? So let's say if I divide this, how much? 400 rupees, right? So yeah. Likewise, if I divide this, the second department, I will get 300. Yeah. So now what does 400 and 300 means? 400 is the unit cost, mean unit fixed production overheads. 300 is the unit fixed production overheads for what you call the finishing department. Now tell me, what is the issue in this? What is the issue if we are finding the answer using this method? What is the issue we have? First issue is, if someone asks you, what is the fixed production overhead, because this is about fixed production overhead, right? So what is the fixed production overhead per car? I mean, for one unit, for one unit of car, what is your answer? 400 for cutting department, in cutting department, and 300 in the finishing department. If someone asks you what is the unit fixed production overhead for one van, what is your answer? Again, 400 in the cutting department and 300 in the finishing department. Is that correct? Wrong. Why? You can't say, right, it won't be a same value or same amount or same cost to produce a car and to produce a van. That is obvious, right? Because you can't say to produce a car it costs 400. To produce a van again it costs 400. That is entirely wrong. So that is a key point. So that is where I'm gonna introduce the word overheads absorption rate. Why? Because I can't go with this method further. If I go with this method, the same issue comes. Why? Because if I am producing two different products, I supposed to divide by the total units, because this is total. I can't divide by 1000 and 500 separately, right? Because 600,000 is total. So if I divide by the total, then we got the answer fine, but the answer is wrong. Practically wrong. Why? I can't say to someone, okay, my cost in the what you call cutting department for one car is 400 and for one van also 400. That is entirely wrong, right? Because of this, then OAR, which is overheads absorption rate, is introduced, right? Therefore, in overheads absorption rate, they have 6 different bases. 6 different bases. So that is where I am going to introduce the word OAR, which is overheads absorption rate. So I'm going to have a base and I'm going to find the answer for that. From that, how I going to calculate the unit cost. You should know there are 6 methods and you should know how to calculate. But in part 2 question, they don't check generally, like in last 15 papers. They haven't checked in part 2 paper, they haven't checked any other 4 methods. They have checked only 2 methods, which is the base, right? Fine. So I'm going to introduce the overheads absorption rate 6 methods. So you should know like why we are having those methods, because we can't use these answers are wrong. The answers I found from this we can't use, because practically this is wrong. That is why the method is introduced, which is OAR, overheads absorption rate. Therefore, the first step is collecting data that they will give, then allocation, they will divide and give for each department, then apportionment, you have to find the base and divide and put for each department, then secondary distribution and stuff, then this absorption stuff. Absorption, we have two things. First one is OAR, overheads absorption rate. So after this table, you supposed to find, or you have to find OAR, which is overheads absorption rate. Fine, right? So I'm introducing OAR, which is overheads absorption rate. We do have 6 methods or 6 formula to find OAR. Right, so these are the methods we have. So why I am introducing OAR? Because when I was trying to find unit cost, it means fixed production overheads per unit, I had the issue. It means when I am trying to divide by the units, I had the issue, because if I do so, I gonna say to someone like my cost per car and cost per van is same, which is entirely wrong. So we are introducing these 6 methods to find OAR, then from that we're going to find the unit cost, right? So let's go with the first one. So these two are the important one out of 6, right? Direct labor hours, machine hours, basis. So what does direct labor hour mean? What does direct labor hours? Why we are using that as a base? Direct labor hours mean the number of hours worked by the direct employees, mean who are directly involved in the production. Machine hours mean number of hours worked by the machine, number of, if machine works for the entire day, 24 hours continuously, that is 24 hours it is worked, right? So those are the 2 basic methods, because to produce something generally, it should be produced by the employee, by the people, or by the machine. We don't have any other option, right? Robots also considered as a machine, right? So you have 2 options. First one is it should be produced by the people, or it should be produced by the machine. That is why we are having these 2 methods, direct labor hour basis and machine hour basis in the production, right? Now let's say we have 2 departments, right? Let's say we have cutting department and finishing department, right? And we have direct labor hour and machine hours. In cutting department, I say totally for a month, if we are doing this for a month, totally for a month 10,000 hours are used for the production. Likewise, machine, they have used only 2,000 hours. What does it mean? It means for cutting department, the important part in production based on direct labor, because there may be more employees working there, and it is based on employees, right? And finishing department, let's say there are only few employees, so they worked only 1,000 hours. But machine, it worked for 20,000 hours. So now what you can understand from this? Cutting department, 10,000 direct labor hours and 2,000 machine hours mean they have only few machines. Therefore, cutting department should base on direct labor hours, right? So how to find the base? Generally in almost all the questions they have given what is the base. Suppose if they don't give, if they just give a table like this, right? If they just give a table like this, you have to find, okay, you have to assume cutting department should base on what you call direct labor hours. Why? Because direct labors are more important, or the answer you're gonna get right? If we are using direct labor hours, it should be, more suitable because it is based on direct labor. But for the finishing department, we go with the machine hours. So now you may have a question like, can we add direct labor hours 10,000 plus 2,000, so total is 12,000, can we use that? No. How can you add your direct labor hours, mean the employee worked hour, with the machine hours? Can't, right? Because that is worked by employee, the people. Here it is worked by machine. You can't add both for at any point of time, right? So you have to choose the base based on the importance for each department, right? Now, cutting department we base on direct labor hours, we found, but almost all the question like last 10-year papers, they gave the base. Suppose if they ask you to find the base, you should be able to do that. So that is why I explained this, how they found the base actually, right? So if you check a proper question and if they give all of this, like a table like this, and if they mention the base by themselves, they should obviously go with the direct labor hours. They would mention in the additional information, cutting department is based on direct labor hours and finishing department is based on machine hours. Why? Because that is practically correct, right? So direct labor hours and machine hours are the main or the two important bases to find the OAR, right? Then third one, unit basis. So what does unit basis mean? Again the same thing which I have already used, and I already told you that base is what you call wrong, but still we have that as one of the base, right? So unit basis, I am dividing by the units, budgeted units, which is actually kind of wrong, but we are making some assumption and doing it. So that also considered as one of the base. We are dividing by units. Then direct material cost percentage. So budgeted direct material. So we are dividing by the budgeted direct material. Then budgeted direct labor cost. Then budgeted prime cost and into 100 because these are percentage, right? So what we are doing now? We are trying to find the OAR for each departments. Why we are finding so? Because I already told you, like if you just go with the unit basis, that the answer you are getting has some issues. So they introduced 6 methods out of 6, which the first 2 are important, which is direct labor hour basis and machine hour basis, right? So I gonna use a base for department based on the information they are giving. One department should have only one base, because if you are using multiple bases for one department, it means you are trying to get the same answer twice, right? Let's say if your total let's say cost is 200,000, or if you have fixed production overhead 200,000 for cutting department, right? So that is the total cost, total fixed production overhead, which you found from the overheads analysis sheet, right? So if you divide 200,000 by 10,000, you get some answer. Again, if you divide 200,000 by 2,000, you are getting another answer. Means you are using both bases to get one answer, one output, which is wrong, right? One department should have only one base. They will give the base for the department, not for the product. It should be for the department. So in this example, I got 200,000 fixed production overhead for cutting department. I had 2 things. Direct labor hours also worked, machine hours also worked. You have to base one out of it. I go with the direct labor hours. Why? Because that is the most important part or important thing in cutting department. So 200,000 is my budgeted fixed production overheads. So if I put here my budgeted fixed production overheads is 200,000. Divide by 10,000. So you'll get the answer, let's say 20 rupees. Now tell me, what does 20 means? What does 20 mean? 20 is that per unit cost? 20 is a per unit cost? No, why? If you divide by units only, you will get per unit, right? If you divide by the number of units, basic maths, if you are dividing by number of units, you will get per unit cost. If you divide by hour, you will get what? 20 rupees per direct labor hour. It is normally when you are trying to get some answer in maths, it based on by what you are dividing, right? So if you divide by units, you get what you call per unit. If you divide by what you call minutes, you will get per minute. Let's say kilometer per hour, right? 60 kilometer per hour. What does it mean? What does it mean? The vehicle runs 60 kilometers for 1 hour, right? So the base answer is 60 kilometer for 1 hour, right? So based on by what you are dividing, right? So likewise here, I divided by the direct labor hours. Therefore my answer is 20 rupees per hour, right? 20 rupees per hour. Now tell me, out of these 6 methods, in which method you can get for a unit? Out of these 6 methods, in which method you can get it for a unit? Which one? The third one. Why? You are dividing by what? Units. Which is practically wrong. Why? Because if you have two multiple products, you are getting the same exact answer for 2 products, which is wrong, but still we are having some assumption doing it, right? So that is why I told you like these 2 methods are very important, not others, right? So if you divide by units, you get the answer in units. Answer for a unit, sorry. If you divide by the hours, you will get the answer for hour. If you divide by minutes, you will get the answer for a minute. If you divide by minutes, you will get the answer for a minute, right? So this is for the cutting department. And for the finishing department, so this is, I would say, for the cutting department. Then for the finishing department, if I use second one, finishing department, my cost is how much? Let's say I put finishing department, my FPOH. What does FPOH mean? Fixed production overhead. So my fixed production overhead is, let's say, 400 or 500,000, right? So how to find 500,000 divided by 20, 5 rupees per machine hour. That is very important. Like what you are finding for 1 hour. It would be direct labor hour or machine hour, right? So now my question is, this 20 per hour is for car or van? 20 rupees per hour is for car or van? Is for both. 20 rupees to produce, I don't know like how much it will take to produce a car, and how much it will take to produce a van, but that is a separate thing. For now, 20 rupees cost is 20 rupees for an hour. So if it is based on direct labor hour, it would cost 20 rupees in fixed production overhead. If it is based on machine hour, it would cost 25 rupees in finished production overhead for 1 hour, right? Likewise, we have 6 methods, right? So let's say this one, third one, answer is what? Per unit. This one, direct material cost percentage. So so this is into 100, so we'll get the answer in percentage. See if you get the answer in 25%. So what does 25% mean now? 25% on direct material. If we get 20%, 20% on direct labor cost. If we get 40% here, 40% on prime cost, right? So I'll give you an example and answer as well to find OAR in 6 different bases, just to find. But you are not going to find, or you are not going to use all the 6 bases in your question, because question should base on, one department should base on either one of these, right? The one department can't use all 6 methods. One department can't even use 2 different methods. One department, I'm saying that. One specific department can't use 2 bases. Why? Because if you are doing so, you are trying to use the same input and trying to get 2 outputs, which is wrong, right? So I give an example to you. So you try to find answer in all different 6 methods. Still, you haven't find unit cost, because our objective is to find unit cost, right? Here what I found, 20 rupees per hour, 20 rupees per direct labor hour. This one, 25 rupees per machine hour, right? This one, yes, 20 or some value per unit, yes, still it is there. Then this one, 25% on your direct material. If your direct material per unit is some value, out of that 25% is your fixed production overheads. This one, if it is 40%, 40% on direct labor cost. If it is 30% prime cost, 30% prime cost. Let's say if your prime cost for a unit, if they give your prime cost is 100 per unit, so your fixed production overhead per unit is how much? 30. Because I am talking about fixed production overheads, nothing else. Because my overheads analysis sheet is based on fixed production overhead. We are doing overheads analysis sheet for the fixed production overheads, nothing else. Not non-production cost, not variable cost, nothing. It's only about fixed production overhead, because I had the issue with the fixed production overheads only, right? That is why we are doing all this working and finding the answers, right? 6 methods. I'll give you an example, do it and try to find the answer for that. I'll share the answer as well, right? Fine. I'm gonna explain this example. The first one is budgeted fixed production overhead. What does it mean, or from where we took it? From the overheads analysis sheet. So we may have 3 columns, service as well. Then we translate back to the production. Then we arrive at these values: 600,000, 400,000 for cutting department and the finishing department. Fine. Then budgeted direct labor hours. So if you check in this department, cutting department, we don't have any machine hours. What does it mean? There's no machine. There's no machine in the cutting department. Only laborers are working. Only people are working there. So if it is a proper question, right? In any question, if you check the overheads and the base. Let's say machinery depreciation is one of your overheads. What is your base? Machinery cost, right? If they give some kind of overheads like that, and if they give like this as well, then what does it mean? If it's a propagation, what they have to give? In cutting department, when they are giving the base, right, for the overheads analysis sheet, they should not give cost for the machine. Why? Because there's no machine labors, right? Machine hours, right? It means what? There's no machines. So they can't give the machinery cost in the specific department if it is a proper question, right? Fine. Then here, there's no direct labor hours because I think finishing department is based on machinery. All the machines are working to make the product. There are some employees which who are not directly involved in the production. right? These are my assumption since they didn't give this. This is how it should be, right? Fine. There are two products for car and toy van. So let's leave this for a while. So what is our next step after we found the what you call total in overheads analysis sheet? We have to find the OAR means overheads absorption rate. So now our base we don't have any issue. Obviously we're gonna use direct labor hour base for the cutting department and machine hour base for the finish department. Can we use same base for two departments? Yes, right? Why? Let's say your production, there's no machine at all. Only laborers are making the product. Then this will be blank, right? They'll give something here. Can we add hours, labor hours of two departments together? No. Why? These labors for department, we have to find the cost per unit per department. Why we have to find for a department? Why we can't find for the total? Because in the last video I explained, our objectives are two. First one is cost per unit, second one is what? To find and reduce the cost. Therefore, they are only we are introducing what you call always analysis sheet and department, right? So we have to find the cost per department. You can't add hours, of two departments. Even they give some hours here, we can't add, because you can't add the number of labor hour in one department, other department, because if it happens, that is not fair, right? It's totally two different departments, two different workforce, two different works as well. So those tiny points are very important. You should understand how it actually works, right? So let's go with this one, this next step, which is OAR. So I have to find the OAR. I'll find here OAR. So I'll try the department first, cutting department, and my base is what? Direct labor hour basis. What is the equation? What is the formula? Budgeted FPOH mean fixed production overhead divided by budgeted direct labor hours. This is total. Therefore, this also should be total, right? This example is straightforward because I gave the total. In next question, sometime I may not give the total. You may have to find the total. So that are the very important points in finding the OAR, because finding the OAR is one of the difficult part in this chapter, because mostly all of us will prepare the OAR analysis sheet without any issues, right? Then the next step, which is OAR, only students struggle. For that, this point is important. This is total. Therefore, your budgeted direct labor hours also should be total. It is not for car, it is not for van, it is not for a car, it is not for a van, it is a total. It is for the total cars and total vans. So my 60,000 hours I have used for a month to produce entire cars and entire vans. So that is the important point. I'll give some example to find that as well. So you can understand how they are testing different scenarios in the question, right? So in this question, this is 600,000 and this is how much? 60,000, and you will get the answer how much? 10, right? 10 rupees. 10 rupees is what? Per direct labor hour. For an hour, fixed production overhead cost 10 rupees. For direct labor, I mean if a labor works for an hour, your fixed production overhead is 10 rupees, right? Then second department, which is finishing department. So I'll find finishing department, find for finishing department, and the base is what? Machine hour basis. Again budgeted fixed production overhead divided by budgeted machine hours. right? So finishing department is 400,000 and this is how much? 5 rupees per machine, right? I would write machine hour. So why I am writing so? Because then only you can understand, right? It is not must to write, but if you write, then you know, right? This is for an hour, because our objective is not to find for an hour. Our objective is to find for a unit, right? So I found 10 and 5, right? So I have two departments. Therefore, I have two OAR. So OAR is based on department, not based on the product. If I have 5 department, I should have 5 OAR. If I have 4 department and 2 product, still I will have 4 OAR. Because OAR is for a department, not for a product. Because my total cost is for a department. My budgeted fixed production overhead for a department, not for a product. That is, those things you should understand to do the question properly. Because this is compulsory question in your final paper, right? And full marks question, you normally, if you understand the entire thing, you won't make a mistake. There is no double entry. There is nothing about financial, nothing they can test new thing, new transaction. It is about the following the standard and understanding how it actually works, right? So I found 10 rupees and 5 rupees. 10 rupees is cutting department per hour, per labor hour, because that is based on labor. Second one is 5 rupees per machine hour. Can one department have two, can one department have 2 OAR? No. One department should have only 1 OAR. Why? If I have 2 OAR, what does it mean? You are having same input. You are using same input to get 2 output. That is entirely wrong, because if you have 1 input, you should have only 1 output. So 10 and 5. So now I have to drive this to find my objective, which is unit cost. Wait, about what I am talking? About fixed production overhead, right? I am only talking about fixed production overhead, right? Not about any other cost, right? I have to sort out this issue first. I am trying to sort out my fixed production overhead issues. I am not talking about direct material, direct labor and other cost. Why? Because non-production is not needed. I need the production cost first. So in production cost, why I am not talking about direct material, direct labor? Because direct material, direct labor I know for a unit. So I can add later, that we can do later. My issue is with the fixed production overhead. That is why I am having this all working to find for a unit. So once I found it, my 70 or 80% is done, because I found my fixed production overhead per unit, right? So 10 and 5. So I put like this. So generally this is my working, right? So this is, I would say, I would write like this: cutting and finishing. I have 10 rupees and I have 5 rupees, and this is, I would say, OAR. So I have 10 rupees and 5 rupees OAR for departments. Now tell me how to find for a car, because I need the cost, I need the fixed production overhead for a car and for a van, right? So that is where I am introducing the word absorbed overheads. First I introduce budgeted fixed production overhead. Then I divide by budgeted hours, or any budgeted methods. We have 6 methods. Then I arrive at overheads absorption rate. Now I am introducing the word absorbed overheads. So let's say this is 10. This 10 means what? Per hour. To produce car, to produce van, both. But for an hour. For an hour, this is my cost. If I know what is my hours to produce one car, then I am done. Because for 1 hour my cost is 10 rupees. If I know how many hours I need to produce one car, then my output, I can get the final output, which is per unit cost. That is given. These are actual information. Generally, if it is a proper question with all the information, they should give actual information to use and find the absorbed overheads. What we found now, which is overheads absorption rate. What we gonna find now? Absorbed overheads, right? So 10 rupees in cutting department for both product for 1 hour. So I am doing a working like this generally. I have car, I have van. I have car again in finishing department. I have van again in finishing department. Right? So I will put here actual hour. So car how many hours? Car how many hours? Actual hours, direct labor hours. How many hours? 5. Right? Van, what is my direct labor hours? Because direct labor hours is used in where? In cutting department, right? In cutting department, right? So in cutting department we are using direct labor hours. So car, van how much? 3. So finishing department we are using machine hours. Car how much? 6 hours. Van how much? 4 hours. Means what? To produce one car, I need 5 direct labor hours, obviously from the cutting department. Why? Because I don't have any direct labor hours in the finishing department. Therefore, the entire direct labor hours is for what? Cutting department, right? Then I can get some answer, 50. This one is 30. 5 into 6, 30 again. 5 into 4, 20. So this is what we call absorb overheads. Absorb. Actually absorbed fixed production overhead. Why we are using absorbed fixed production overhead? Why we can't just say fixed production overhead per unit? Because fixed production overhead per unit, if we just say fixed production overhead, right? What does it mean? It means the actual information. These are actual information? No, because this 10 is not actual, right? You see this is budgeted. This is budgeted. This is actual, and you arrive at a kind of a which includes budgeted and actual as well, not entire actual value. Why? Entire actual value, from where we can get it? From the manufacturing account itself, right? I am doing for the future. This actual hours mean how many hours is needed to produce one unit. So now tell me, what is the fixed production overhead per unit for a car? How to find that? This is car, this is car. So this is van, this is van. Right. So this entire thing, about what I am talking? About fixed production overhead, not the entire cost. I didn't include anything about direct material, direct labor. Why? Because I had the issue with the fixed production overhead. To sort out that, I prepare the overheads analysis sheet, then I arrive at what you call OAR, then I found absorbed overheads for a unit. This is for the fixed production overhead, not for the direct cost, right? So this is a working. Can you give answer like this in your final, your answer? No. Because if you give so, when someone is correcting the paper, they don't understand what you're trying to say here. So this is kind of working to find the answer, to make it simple without any, confusion, right? Because cutting department, finishing department I have 2. So now you know the fact, one department should have 1 OAR, because I can't put cutting again, right? Then finishing 1 OAR, then I have products. Now tell me, you have 4 departments, 3 products. You have 4 departments, 3 products. How many OAR you have to find? You have 4 department, 3 products. How many OAI you have to find? 4. Why? OAI based on what? Department. How many absorbed overhead you have to find? 4 department, 3 product. So each department will have 3 products. So how many absorbed overhead? How many final answers we have to find? 12. 4 into 3. Because I will have like this then, right? 4 department, then each will have 3. So 3, 9, 6, 9, 12. 12 absorbed overhead. So that is the entire, that is understanding, the entire understanding you should have to do the question. Clear? Right? Still, now I just talked about fixed production overhead, and this is a working. If they give direct labor and direct material, let's say if they give for car and for van, if they give direct material this much, direct labor this much. Let's say if they give direct material 200 for one car, direct here 350 and 70. Just assume, right? So what is my prime cost? 250 and 370. So that is fine. Why they are giving that? Why they are giving that? Without, why you are not doing anything for that? Because direct cost, which is variable generally, for a unit, right? So they gave it. This one we are doing because we don't know for the unit. Now we found how to do this, how to show this here, how to show this working here. Because this working, they won't give the marks for sure. This is just a working. You are doing for your, your understanding to get the answers. No one will give the marks for this working. Right? Very difficult to understand what you're trying to say here because this is your own working. Prime cost is done. Now I put, okay, my absorbed overhead. I have for car, I have 2 absorbed overhead, 50 and 30. So I would put cutting how much and what you call finishing how much. For cutting I have 50 and 30. So I put 50 here for car, and again for car finishing 30. Then for van I put 30. Then I put 20. So I get some answer. 330 and how much? 400 for 20. So what does 330 and 420 means? What is it? You have prime cost. For the production overhead only we had issue and we found for a unit. So this is what you call what? Production cost for 1 unit. So why we are having this working then? We found in these 2 scenarios, we found OAR for 1 hour. We can't put 1 hour cost there because the car production doesn't mean it takes only 1 hour, right? Therefore, we are having, okay, 1 hour your cost is 10 rupees, fine. I need 5 hours to produce a car, then it is 50. I need 3 hours to produce a van, then it is 30, right? So this is the entire thing. What I found? Production cost, right? Which includes prime cost, and you already put fixed production always calculation, you found the answer, you found production cost. If the question is what is the total cost for 1 car, what should be your answer? Is it production cost? No. If they give non-production cost by any chance, right, you will add that as well and get the cost per unit. This is total production cost. If we add non-production, then that is total cost. This is total production cost, and if we add non-production, that is the total cost. Because if you remember, right, so what I explained is I divided into this production, non-production. Then I divide into what you call fixed and variable, fixed and variable, right? So variable is done, which is a direct, fixed also done. This one they will give non-production. So if we add that, then you will get the total cost. Right, so as of now I have explained overheads analysis sheet. In overheads analysis sheet, primary distribution and secondary distribution. Then I have introduced OAR. We have 6 methods. Out of 6 methods, 2 methods are important, which are directly above our basis and the machine hour basis. From that I am getting the answer, which is absorbed overheads. So I will show that in cost calculation, the total cost calculation. Then I am getting the total production cost if we have any non-production cost, and if the question is what is the total cost at some level, you had to add that as well. Fine. So this is the working I do follow to get the OAR and to find the absorbed overheads. I feel this working would be used for any kind of scenario what they test, right? So in next video I'll cover different scenarios to find OAR and the absorbed overheads, and I'll have the summary as well. Thank you guys.